Welcome back to another episode of the Align for Success podcast. I am Deborah, Latina speaker, peak performance expert, and your host. And today we have an amazing guest. I am so excited to introduce you to one of my dear friends all the way from the East Coast. I made him stay up late. But before we do, I want to let you know that we are here each and every week with one purpose to be able to share with you my mentors, people that have inspired me by how they live their lives. And what this show will help you to do is to find out their strategies, how they think, how they act, and how they align for success so you can align for success as well. So if you love this show, if you love positive energy, please share if you care. We have a saying here at Align for Success that sharing is definitely caring. So share this on your Facebook, share this on your YouTube. We want more and more people to meet amazing people like my friend MJ. And I want to let you know that this show is being sponsored by the Ignite Your Revenue Group Coaching Program. So for those of you that know me, know that I have been a coach for over 2 decades. Oh my God, I started at age 12. And what I do is I help people that want to be paid to do what they love, to align with their soul's contract. But because there's so many hours in the day, I decided to start a group program. So this group program allows you to join other synergistic, positive, soul-based entrepreneurs to learn mindset, marketing, and manifestation. And it's kind of like having your own Netflix, but instead of comedy, horror, and drama, you get mindset, marketing, and manifestation videos, like how to podcast at home. So if you are interested in that, you can check it out at deborahderas.com/events. So today's guest is amazing. You are so lucky to be here because MJ's mantra is everyone wants to be a beast until it's time to do what real beasts do. And you're going to learn what he does because MJ Tyler is the host and executive producer and creator of the Black Wine Guy Experience podcast. MJ got his start in wine in 1998. Were you even legal to drink at that time? No, I was kidding. Working at working
I'm an old man. I just look good.
Ooh, la la. Working at storied retailer Acker Wines in New York City. If you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. From there, he became assistant wine director at the Sparrow Wine and Liquor Company in Hoboken, New Jersey, before heading out west to lovely Santa Barbara, California. MJ became the retail store manager and sommelier at the Montecito Wine Bistro. Sounds fancy. In April of 2000, MJ became the first ever, listen to this, first ever fine in rare wine auctioneer participating in Acker's $1.5 million spring auction. Wow, this was only $12.99. No, I'm getting a deal. At the Hemsley Park Lane Hotel in New York City. MJ has worked in all baskets of the wine business from retail, wholesale, auctions, and wine consulting. MJ is known for his unique ability to explain why in terms that everyone can understand in a light and humorous way. He's just cracking me up. He's so funny, friends. His podcast, The Black Wine Guy Experience, debuted at number 17. That is so big in the food category when it launched last October. He has a growing and loyal following on and off social media. And today we're going to find out how he created his joy, not a job. Please welcome MJ.
Thank you, DeborahDeras.com. Thank you for that. I always love introductions because you're like, who is that?
Right?
Yeah.
You're like, is that me? Is that me?
I did that. I did that. So thank you for that. And thanks for having me. Thank you for having me here. And I'm excited to be here. It's been a long time, my friend.
I know.
It's really good to see everything that you've accomplished over the past few years. I'm really proud and happy for you. And again, just nice to be here.
Thank you. And I just want to say thank you. You're one of my few friends that ever came to see me speaking live. People know that I'm a speaker, but you showed up. You came out in the snow or wherever I was. I don't even know where I was.
You were in
Somewhere.
Hartford. You were in Hartford. I remember it was great, and you were like the keynote, and I was like, wow.
And it was an all women's conference, all
I know.
Latina
Yeah, it
conference. And
was.
you just walked to the door. I'm here to support. I just love that. I love that. And what I also want to thank you for publicly is, being in quarantine has been challenging. I would say for myself, challenging for everyone. But particularly when you work from home for yourself alone. And I would go on Instagram and I would see you coming up on video. I don't care what time it was. You'd be like, "Hi, it's 28 degrees and I'm working out." I'm like, "How is he so motivated?" And that's why you're in my head even though we don't talk or see each other every day. You're an inspiration to me. And that so I consider you to be my mentor because I have mentors in my head. So you're my mentor. So I wanted to share your way of thinking with the people here. How do you always have such a positive mindset?
Um, One thing I really have to say is my mother, right? My mother was like the most positive person I ever met, and my mother never
Mm.
took a course or read a self help book.
Oh, really?
That's just was her constitution. She had the best smile. So my smile is my mother's smile.
Aw.
She had an incredible sense of humor, and a major part of that is it's in my DNA. Now, the podcast is called A Line for Success. I'm sure many people watching or many people who need to be watching um, get out of alignment, allow themselves to get out of alignment in life, and then it's really just for me, it's finding your way back. But really, um, yeah, my mother passed. It'll be 2 years, and
Mm, sorry.
I would thank you, but it was perfect because
Right.
she knew how she was going to transition, and I was able to help her and support her in her transition. And you know me. I mean, I tell people like you know me by my what's my government name, But my mother, yes, my mother used to call me MJ because that's what. So now my highest and best self is MJ. So I'm going by
Mm.
MJ to honor her, and I didn't like it. Well, I never didn't say I did not like it, but it took on more. So whenever people say, "Hey, what's up, MJ?" I just see my mom smiling at me.
Oh,
So
I love it. Your highest and best self. And
yeah,
that's where you live from. Like to me, in watching you, like your intentionality is to live at the level of peak performance, right? At your highest and best self. So that peak performance energy is in everything you do, whether you're doing kickboxing or you're speaking. I remember your one thing and
yeah,
or
yeah.
all your wine business. How is that level of excellence ingrained within you?
It's funny you said that because I think about that. I've been thinking about that because I'm going to go off on a little bit of tangent, but I will bring it home. I promise.
Just
So um, I've been really fortunate. Like I do stuff at a high level, um, and I would just say that's energy. At the end
mm-hmm.
of the day, I mean, um, first ever wine auctioneer. With my podcast, I have the highest people at the highest levels of wine business. I'm only 17 episodes in, and when I reach out to someone to be on my show, they're like, "Oh my God, MJ, I'd be honored to be on your show." And I think that's energy. And then, we met at Agape International Spirits Center, and at that time, I was living with Jack Canfield. I
Oh, you were living with Jack Canfield?
yeah, I lived with Jack
Oh,
Canfield
I
for
didn't know that. Do you guys know
about
who Jack Canfield is? He wrote the book
18
Chicken
months.
Soup for the Soul,
Yeah,
right?
and the success principles
Oh, yeah.
was the one that was big back in '07. That I think it got released in 2006. But yeah, Um, and just like that whole upper level of transformational leaders, I've been blessed to operate at high levels, and meet people at high levels. And I think, and that can only be energy, because people don't want to be around people who aren't adding and forwarding and bringing something to it. And that, that's even, there was a time that'd be hard for me to admit, but when I look, I'm like, man, you've been able to meet people at the highest levels and basically hang. I mean, like, so that's energy. Um, I think it takes a lot for me, a lot had to do with getting clear on stuff. That's where I am now. But always, I've always had that good energy. And like I said, that's just, my mom just super, just great, you know?
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Jack Canfield, he was the one in The Secret, right? That
Yeah.
said that he was living in the house that was on his vision board. And
No,
that's when
that's what's
that
his name.
wasn't him?
That was Asaroff, John
Oh,
Asaroff.
oh, okay,
And
okay.
Jack, is the one who wanted to make $100,000, and he did it like, by advertising his chicken soup for the soul books in the back of the National Enquirer.
Oh my God, really? But so energy like attracts like, right? So
Yep.
you're vibrating at a high positive energy because you're living your life at your highest and best self because that's your mantra, right?
Yep.
So that puts you in situations, circumstances to meet people like Jack. What was it like? So what did you learn from your living with him and being around him?
I would say ultimately what I learned, it's so good, it was and it's gonna sound, I learned a lot by being with Jack during that time when the law of attraction was really
Right?
popular. And what I learned was that the law of action precedes the law of attraction.
Ah.
And I say that because I kind of washed out with Jack. Like, I had a great run with him, but in 2010 I ended up, 42 years old and moving back with my parents at a failed company, at a failed social media marketing company. Um, and I had to start over. So fortunately, the the first rule of success in Jack's book, the number one principle in the success principles. Look, I said success. Um, is you have to be 100% responsible for your life, right?
Ooh.
That
100% responsible for your
100%
life.
responsible for your life. Like, good, bad, ugly. If you can't change anything, you're not responsible for it. Because
Right.
I mean, that's how people live. Like, that's not my responsibility. I didn't do that.
Right.
Once you can be responsible for everything that's going on in your life, you just flipped a huge switch.
Right, because then you're not a victim of your circumstance. You're at the power of choice, right? You're
Right,
at
right,
choice. Because
right.
if you blame somebody, then it's their fault. It's the government. And by the way, you're not the only one in that time. I think in 2008, like when like Mac at the macro level where everything crashed, I think that was the year that I was going through a divorce and then I was losing my house. And I literally was like, oh my God. Because I had worked with all these guys
Yeah,
about getting the stocks and the real estate and building wealth and going, and I had gotten there and then watch it all crumble apart. But if I blamed other people, I'd be in the same place. But taking that responsibility, I'm like, well, if I built it once, I could build it again,
right,
right?
right, right. And that's so true. And I think, that's it. Like, you're either the hero or the victim of your life. That's it.
Mm.
That's it. You got two choices. You
And
know.
then so you went back east and then went back into the wine business. How did that come about?
Um. Well, I had a quick detour in the network marketing business, but that was good.
I
Yeah.
remember, I was there for that.
But the wine. Here's how the wine thing came about. I had been in the wine business, and I had allowed myself to go to excess. So I walked away from the wine business. I walked away from the business of it, but I always was still a student of it. Um, I couldn't go, especially in California. Like, back when I was like the kickboxing instructor, personal trainer, I wasn't drinking at all, but I couldn't go
Oh,
into,
that's why you weren't drinking,
yeah,
because you were trying to be sexy,
yeah,
huh?
yeah.
Ah.
I was like,
You're like, "I wasn't trying."
I was, I had an 8 pack. No, um, but um, but I couldn't go into a like a Vons or a Ralph's or a wine shop, and not help someone with a bottle of wine.
Right.
It was just, it brought me so much joy. And here's the thing: I think when you talk about aligning for success, and I think you said creating a joy, not a job, you have to understand what brings me joy. What am I good at? But there also is like, what could I make money at?
Mhm.
Right. So one of the things was when I was originally in the wine business, I was doing big things, but I didn't have the clarity. So I really didn't see a path. I didn't see a path,
Right.
right? Like I didn't know sommeliers were going to become this big thing. They were going to make movies about them, and they would become the rock stars of the wine world.
Right,
You know,
right.
um, and there was a lot of stuff I had to clean up in my thinking. Which I got to do when I did a lot of transformational work. Like I said, it just allowed me to get back to who I am. Just like, oh wow, you were always that kid who people liked, and who your mama's boy or whatever. But like surrendering to that love, took a lot of work. Um,
Wait, go slow. Surrendering to
the
what?
love, love. I mean, love is a big part of everything, right? Like
Right.
what's that cliche? If you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life,
It's true. It's so
right?
true. Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
it just when I say, I mean, I couldn't back when I was in the wine business. It was fun, but I was like, I was like, this is not. I didn't believe you were supposed to have that much fun. Like I just thought you had to work. You had to grind it out. Like this can't be work. What are you talking about? Sitting on a terrace in Montecito, California, having lunch with someone, and then selling them $15,000 worth of wine. That I wasn't bringing value. Although I made the payroll for the whole restaurant for like 3
Right.
years. It just wasn't clicking. You know.
It's because we're socialized to think no pain, no gain, put the axe to the grindstone. If you're not suffering and sacrificing, that you're not working hard enough. And
Right.
when you align, it's not from that perspective.
Right.
It's from what do you love to do what you love. And when you're aligning with being of service by the natural degree of the law of circulation, you will receive abundance. But you said something really important that I think a lot of people, we have Melly here. She's the wine PR person. Then Christina, who I met wine tasting. That's so funny. Britt, my health coach, who I'm trying to not drink as much wine. Everybody's wine related. But what I think would really help all these lovely ladies that are like your cheerleaders on here right now is what did you need to surrender? What did you need to clear out to be available to go to the next level in your
Mm,
career and in your life? I truly believe that clarity is cash, but also surrender is it's a superpower.
mm. Wow, that's a good question. Um, and I I'm not going to pretend to know the answer. I'm just going to kind of tell you the story of how the podcast came into play, and then we'll unpack from there. So again, aligning for success. You know, I have been saying I was going to have a podcast for years, and I thought it was going to be in the success niche because I love transformation.
Right?
I love studying success just like you do. Like I'm a student of it. Like what makes this person successful and that one not. Um, but I really wasn't getting the traction. I mean, I wasn't getting. I mean, I was not getting the traction that I would like to have seen. The black wine guy came about. It was just I have a friend who has a restaurant in Western Massachusetts, and he said, there's a whole big wine community on Instagram, and I got on there and I was like, oh my god, who are these people? It's kind of
Oh,
like, who are these people? They don't really know a lot about wine. They're just taking pictures and like and that's fine because we know there's Instagram life and there's real life.
right.
And I saw a lot of Instagram life. I could just tell that I was like, they don't know anything about wine. So and then it was just I remember being in the wine business and I'd be the only black guy at a wine tasting. Now, I don't have a problem with that. I think things should be more inclusive, but I don't. There was no one at the door saying I couldn't come in. I just think it was exposure. People
Right.
have exposure to it. So, and it would be funny because people they would not want to. White people don't want to sound racist, so they don't want to say you're black or you're Latina, right? They'll say everything. She's got curly hair. She's got a great
Right.
smile. Like it's easy, dude. Just say the black guy. The black guy will help me with wine. Like save everybody time. And so, I was the black guy at the wine, so I was black wine guy, and I couldn't believe that was the thing. People were coming up with all these crazy Instagram handles, right? Like,
Right.
and I was just like, black wine guy. That was me. I was a wine guy. I was black. And when for a while I was just taking pictures of me holding bottles. I didn't even show my face. And I got traction. It was funny. I got traction amongst like wine critics and wine people who knew wine. They were seeing the bottles, but they're like, well, this guy never seen his face, but he obviously knows wine. You know what I mean? So and then I really didn't have a where I was going to go with it. So I just didn't post for like 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
Then I came back on at Thanksgiving and these people were like, dude, where'd you go? We didn't know what, and I was like literally I put a post up and it just got like 50 likes like that. It was really just, and I was like, okay. So I still didn't know what I was doing with it, but I knew I was onto something.
Mm-hmm.
And so it started growing, and it really took off, again, I want to reiterate that I had said I was going to have a podcast for years. Right. It started taking off. So the Black Wine Guy Instagram account started taking off around after George Floyd, after last year. Things George Floyd, because then people were like, oh, we're not really supporting black wine professionals, whatever. So like I got like 2,000 followers like in 2 weeks because of George Floyd. Yeah, it was crazy. And then you never know, talking about a line, you never know what the connection is going to be. I was in this really expensive marketing mastermind, building a funnel for a business idea I've had for years, transformational fitness, but I really wasn't into it. But I befriended a Latina woman, interestingly enough, and because we were like the only two people, there's like 4 people of color in this whole like crazy. You know how much those masterminds can cost. That's almost
like $10,000.
Yeah. And so we were talking, and I said, yeah, I'm also into wine. I got this Instagram account, Black Wine Guy. She's like, dude, what are you doing? This is incredible. Like I had really high engagement, even though my numbers weren't big. I was getting so she's like, I have a friend. They have a podcast called Rogues on the Road. It's on the Food and Beverage Network podcast network. So these guys had me on their podcast last April, right when as we were in lockdown. Normally we would have met together and drank wine and all stuff, but like we did it, and literally we were talking, like they said, we usually go about anywhere from 30, maybe 45 minutes. We had talked for 53 minutes and we hadn't even introduced the wine yet.
Oh my God!
Yeah, it was crazy. So when it was over,
you guys are high level too. When you guys were talking, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah, I mean, and when it was over, one guy said, he said, dude, you need your own podcast. You're beyond ready. So one of the bonuses in my marketing course was actually a 21-day podcast launch.
Oh wow!
So I was going to go through that course, and in the interim, like I said, there was more awareness spotlight on Black, Indigenous people of color professionals in the wine business. So someone else I'd worked with her father years ago. She asked me to be on her podcast, and I was on that show. And a friend of hers is a producer. She
right place, right time, right people.
Right.
When you're in alignment, you don't have to push, you don't have to pull. You just are. Right. You're just being it.
Right. So she saw me and heard me say I was going to have a podcast. And then one day, I was doing one of my videos because I was going through the course. I was recording my intro. I was recording my intro, and during the big part of lockdown, it was like the summer, and it was just so noisy. Like everybody's getting their grass cut.
Oh, I know.
All day, every day. because you're not home, because you used to be out speaking and doing talks, right? But
Right.
during the day, how noisy is it in your neighborhood?
Or they're constructing an
Or
entire deck.
constructing, yeah. And so I had said so I went outside. I was trying to do the intro, so I went outside and I did a video about the noise
Right. I know.
in the world. I said, and on top, and then also I was like, but there's also noise in your head, right? So we always have
Yes.
we have those voices in our head, and you know, it just was a metaphor. So she saw that video. So that one is what put over the top. She literally said, she said, 3 times I went to message you, and I was like, nope, this guy, he doesn't know me. He's gonna think I'm crazy. But literally, she said, listen, I saw, I'm friends with Annie. I know you're starting a podcast. I'm a producer. I've worked for Food Network, Travel Network, MTV. Um, and I said, you know, she said, I said, I think this guy could use my help. And so we connect. So I was like, yes, I could use some help.
Yes.
And
Everybody that has a podcast could use some help. I could use some
right. And
universe.
I think it's great what you're doing. But because she had worked in TV and stuff, and it was one of those things where I invested in myself because
Yes.
I felt, she said, we can go into a studio in New York City. It's pro level sound, 4K
Oh,
video.
wow.
It'll just elevate your podcast.
Right.
And and I said, well, I'm already spending X amount a month on this mastermind, and I can't wait for that to end.
Right.
But right place, right time, right person, right thing, right video. And literally, she said, and then we started talking about energy. I said, listen, you have no idea. I've been working on my energy, and if you were attracted into my life, it's meant to be.
Right.
So I literally attracted, and I don't like. I mean, it just energy. I aligned. We were in alignment. She was
Vibrational frequency, match,
vibrational,
match.
right, and then that's how that came about. So she really allows me, and I'll tell this to any entrepreneur who's listening, what entrepreneurs don't work for yourself, right? You don't be self-employed. Find people, outsource the things you're not good at to people who are good at, who will support you so you can continue to shine and you can stay aligned with what your real purpose is. Because you can get bogged down. There would be there'd be no show without my producer. There just wouldn't be. Like, it would
Have you
not.
read the Have you read the book The E-Myth that talks about that? The
Oh
Entrepreneurial
yeah,
Myth by
Michael
Michael
Gerber. Yeah,
Gerber?
Michael Gerber. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I knew it. I knew you would know that book
yeah.
because that what he's talking about, don't work for yourself, because if you do not delegate, you will not grow. You cannot do everything in your business, be the marketing person, the publicity person, the salesperson. You've created a job and you're just working for yourself. You need to start growing and delegating. So you delegated, you manifested this producer.
Yep.
Now you have the podcast, and now your business, your love for wine that you've always loved, that's a joy, is also an abundant, prosperous livelihood.
Yeah, I mean, it's coming along. I mean, I know where I have a very clear picture. You talked about spiritual practices. I remember Ernest Holmes once said, I'm pretty sure.
I was reading him yesterday. Can we talk to God by Ernest Holmes?
Yeah, it was either Ernest Holmes or Raymond Charles Barker. Those are two of the most. But actually, people visualization is like the highest form of prayer, right? Because what does the
Right.
scripture say? Ask, believing you have it. How you do that is by visualizing. It's not just praying. It's actually getting a very clear picture, because then it
Exactly.
pulls you forward. So that was a big shift for me, because I could never really meditate, but I had success with visualization before, you know,
Yes.
and when, like, with athletics, and then I wouldn't. And it's so funny, I would forget. Like, oh, I won that race. I pictured myself winning that race in that fashion, and I did it. But then I wouldn't do that every week, right? And I'm like, well, I just
Ah,
need to train harder, but
right, right.
but the visualizing and having very clear pictures in my head are really what's moving this forward. So, because here's another thing, it's gonna be hard. Like, I love effort less means it's less effort. Doesn't mean it's not going to take some effort, right?
Right.
So again, things are easier when you love them, when you're passionate about them. But you could be passionate about lifting weights, but 400 pounds is still 400 pounds. There's still some of the more things to work.
Exactly. Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so I think it's finding ways. It's actually understanding these laws of the universe and how they work, right? And how they work in concert has been a big factor.
It's so funny that you said that about visualization because I would do every other spiritual practice. I would pray, I would journal, I would meditate, I would do Reverend Michael's life visioning process. But just this year, and it's because of listening to Dr. Joe Dispenza so much,
Mhm,
he talked about, creating your day. I think that was in What the Bleep where he said
mhm.
that. And so I started visualizing how I wanted my life to look. And it definitely manifested in moving back to the beach because I could not do another day in quarantine without seeing the ocean. I was like literally going to lose it. So I love that visualization as a practice
Yeah.
because that's what athletes do before a game, right? They see
Yep.
themselves having, and I was watching Tiger Woods, the thing on HBO Max. Ooh, how his dad had him there and he would just picture getting the
Yep.
shot no matter how
Hmm.
hard it was. That
Hmm.
is super awesome. But a lot of people that are on here that are entrepreneurs or intrapreneurs wanting to start a venture, they suffer from what is called, you may know, the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
So they go to start a podcast or they go to write a book or they go to take on a new project. And those little voices that you talk about, I call them your ego, that's not your amigo or
Yeah.
amiga, will say, let's do it tomorrow. That, get a mañana wanna syndrome and just procrastinate, procrastinate. How can you help people get over the imposter syndrome and show up and invest in themselves?
Very good question. Very, 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 very good question. Well, I think that you just have to know if you know who you are. Like that again, it goes to clarity, right? I mean, literally.
Everything goes to clarity, right?
I mean, it does. I mean, I sat down 2 weeks ago, maybe 2, 3 weeks ago, and my guest was the wine critic of the New York Times.
Whoa,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. And I remember I was coming home and I'm at a stoplight and like I teared up a little bit because I was like, Mom, your little boy just sat down with
Oh,
the wine critic from the New York Times and went toe to toe. Not like we were battling, but like
right.
that guy's been in media for 40 years, and he's like that. This was fun, right? He's like this was fun, and I was like, it's you got to realize. I'll give you another example. Perfect, because here's my point is, it's going to come back. Just you have to stay grounded and know who you are. You have to stay grounded and know
No,
who you
the truth of who you are is your
Exactly,
highest and best self.
exactly. Thank you for that. The truth of who you really are, right? Because scripturally, we're made in the image and likeness of God.
Amen.
The master teacher said, "Even greater things you will do." Somehow
Yes.
that's gotten lost in all the religiosity,
Mhm.
right? But the Bible says, in the beginning there was the Word, and the world was spoken to into existence. So
Right.
that's why and our words are just simply what is in our mind. It just comes out our mouth. So that's why you want to be visualizing and planting the right seeds, right? Like what I mean, I can go scripture after scripture, like you reap what you sow, right? So
Mhm.
understanding what this means, like what are you sowing in your mind? What are you sowing in your subconscious? You can't plant tomatoes and expect to get watermelon. You got to plant watermelon seeds, right? So, and you
And you
have to.
can't you can't sit there looking at the tomato plant and say, "Grow,
Yeah,
grow. Why aren't
exactly.
you growing? Why aren't you growing? Why aren't you growing?"
You can't look at the packet of tomato seeds and think, okay, I bought the tomato seeds. I'm gonna have tomatoes. Like we're good. Then there's work. You got to get your hands dirty, right? Got to get your hands dirty. Got to plant those seeds, and you got to water it. So that's why the daily rituals for me, visualization is so huge. Because I'll visualize, and then if I want to journal, I'll journal. Like I think so many people we get caught up in like this is a prescription for you got to get up at 5 a.m. and
Right.
you got to meditate. You got to drink a gallon of water. You got to drink a glass of water with apple cider vinegar and cayenne pepper, like
I
we
used
have
to do
all
that.
these things. But
And
they're not
turmeric.
bad for you. but like after all the years of life and looking back, like what's worked, visualizing, having that clear picture you can go back to, and staying grounded in the truth of who you really are.
I love that. I love that. And I know that when you talked about, clearing out, that you have to clear out the weeds of that
Yep.
garden. I remember at one time, I think you went to Landmark, right?
Oh
And
yeah,
you
yeah,
were doing all of this releasing and letting go of the lies.
yep.
Because what is truth is that you are your highest and best self, whether it's being launching a podcast, launching whatever you want to launch, that you have the capacity if you have the idea, it was downloaded to you. But to let go so that there's room for that. What did you have to let go to be where you are now?
Oh, I would say one of the biggest issues that I had a child when I was 20 years old, and I was not a good father. I have no problem saying that. I was 20 years old. I had to let go of all that guilt of that.
Uh,
Nothing I could do about it. Like I mean, I think that was one of the things when I was originally in the wine business. I was like, I need to make more money. I got to pay child support. Like I was not aligned with anything, right? Um,
uh,
but once you forgive yourself, like literally, that's like you're 20 years old, man. You're
right.
20 years old. Like you look at a 20-year-old kid now, you're like, oh my god, you're a
You're a
child.
baby.
You know nothing.
I even look at 35-year-old people and I'm like, you're young, you're a baby.
You're a baby, right? So like I was a baby. I was a baby, you know?
So
And
forgiving yourself. So what was the process of forgiving yourself? Because it is a journey, right? It's not just you
no,
forgave
I mean,
yourself once.
I think it's in transformation is instantaneous. This is a lot of work. So I think it happens on a dime. I can't say when it happened. Um, I can't say when it happened, but it just I don't know. Maybe I would say maybe it was when my daughter cursed me out. Like I like okay. I was like, you have every right to be angry, and trying to tell her like it's not going to change the past. So either you want to
Right,
move forward with me, because you don't know me. I get it, and that's my fault. But like, you could either know me or not know me. Like again, that choice, being responsible. Like I didn't like if you want to have it that I did this to you, and you want to live
right,
your life that way. That's fine. But I've learned because I was blaming my parents for stuff. That's what we
right,
do.
right,
You know, we blame our parents. Parents mess kids up. That's what they do. Parents do the best they can. Most of our parents are not enlightened spiritual people who have spiritual practices. So we had to do the work, right? So
right,
and it was just like accepting the past. No, I couldn't change it.
right.
In her speaker mind, I just was freeing. You know,
And I think that's so amazing because people compartmentalize and they think, well, this is career and this is family and this is money, but it's all intertwined.
yep,
If one thing is out of integrity, everything is. So you have to clean that stuff up
yep,
if you want to align for success. Any little area of your life that you're not forgiving yourself
right,
or that you're feeling guilty about, it literally, and I'm knowing this because I speak for myself, for me, it's a journey. It's like I'm still forgiving myself. Oh, Deborah, why'd you do that? You're gonna still have that Inglewood house that's now worth $1 million. I can't even drive through Inglewood. Whenever I see my house that I lost, I'm like, it's all right. It's near the stadium. I know you could have. Anyway, it's a process, right? But that journey of letting go and trusting, you know what? Everything is in divine order. Everything, happened the way it was supposed to be. And now you have that lesson and she has that lesson.
yeah,
And it's part of the journey. It's part of the journey.
yeah,
So then there's not that judgment.
right. So it's that, and then just once you do that, I mean, things start to fall. Things don't fall. I used to say things don't fall apart; they fall into place. Then things start to
Yeah.
fall into place.
Yeah. Remember Reverend Michael would always say that breakdown before the breakthrough.
That's right.
Hmm.
You got to make a mess to have a message. Is another one.
Amen.
You know?
Amen.
Um,
So I know that you have people had so many questions for you. They were saying, my friend that's a PR person, she's like, is he a sommelier? Are you a sommelier?
I'm not a certified sommelier, but the definition of a sommelier is that you sell wine on the floor of a restaurant, and I did that.
And then my other friend says, "Does this work for dating?" Yes, all the
Yeah,
surrender stuff. It works for everything.
absolutely.
It works for everything. And then my friend Andrea says, "I'm a black wine guy too." He's from San Diego. he's
Okay.
like, he's like, "Put me in the mix. I want to be a black wine guy." So how can people support you? How can people like? What are your next coming projects? Not I want. My whole thing, you've known me for a long time, is about synergy. I
Yeah.
believe that with the power of synergy, anything is possible. That together we're better. We can help each other. We can build each other. How can we help and build you and take your podcast to whatever level or whatever your next project is?
Well, thank you for asking. Regarding the podcast, I mean, I think what people could do is just go to Apple or Spotify, whatever platform you listen to, and follow the Black Wine Guy Experience. Okay. You can also go to my website, which you're showing down there, theblackwineguy.com, and get on my email list. That's where people get insider information about what I'm doing. And, and I send out some emails and just share what's up going on in my life. Um, but
And
yeah,
your Instagram is Black Wine Guy,
yeah,
right?
and go to my Instagram. Follow me on Instagram at Black Wine Guy. Please do that. Um, but yeah, subscribing and leaving 5-star reviews is huge. Um,
I did it. I did it. I gave
I
you the
know.
feedback.
Thank you so much. And I don't be afraid to send me a DM. Don't be afraid to send me an email. I answer. Right now I'm not that busy right now where I answer all emails. Right. So and I'm working on a project down the line. Um, Working on importing some Australian wines. Right.
Oh, I love Australian
Yeah.
wine. I went to this wine tasting in Santa Barbara. It was like Suncoast Australian wine was
hmm
over there.
hmm
Yeah.
And but that's a project that's in the works. But yeah, if you, and a matter of fact, I'm doing an IG live on Wednesday on St. I'm doing an IG live with a winemaker on Wednesday. I have a whole series where I do winemaker IG lives every Wednesday. Yeah, Melissa, I don't have a PR person, so you should hit me up.
Message him. Message him.
So you should hit me up.
She's
Um,
bilingual.
yes, awesome. I don't have a PR person. I need a PR person. And then also I'm doing this IG live. I do once a month with the Australian wine guy, who's a friend of mine, and we're
Oh, how
working.
cool.
Yeah, we're working on this importing project. So, but yeah, just if you just follow me on Instagram, Twitter, I'm at Black Wine Guy. Like my Facebook page, subscribe to my podcast. Listen, it's not just about wine. We talk about wine, but a big part of it is how people get back up from adversity. And it is this whole Venn diagram. I'm like, okay, like I'm kind of funny. I know about
You're
wine.
hilarious.
It's
He's hilarious.
so like so like I found this, like I have this niche that really works. And and people love the show. I mean, it's a great response. I'm so grateful for the people who follow and listen, and it's just incredible feedback. And come along on the journey. It if anything, it will be entertaining.
I know. I love. I anytime I catch it, I watch and there. This guy was talking to me. He's like, "I'm not going to make money on this, but we've invested in this. But what we're really going to make money on is this."
Yeah,
And it's just so fascinating.
yeah,
It's so fascinating. I love it. I could be the Colombian wine girl. No, I'm just kidding.
exactly. Listen, still out there. It's what, like, the Australian wine guy was so funny. He was not on Instagram, but he got on. So and literally he's like, I couldn't believe the Australian wine guy was available. Just like
Wow.
when I got on it, when I did sign up in 2017, I was like, really? All these black dudes are not, why is no one the black wine guy? Like, why is everybody like, anyway,
I love
it was
it.
for me.
Yeah.
It was waiting. I am the black wine guy. That's what I tell people.
Exactly.
So,
And not only that, but MJ, you inspire us to live at our highest and best. That voice of your mom, that is your angel, that is conspiring for your good, that is clearing space to allow you to fulfill your soul's contract, and just happy every little success you get, that you're living that joy, because I know mothers only want you to be happy. That's
Yeah.
their only thing that they ever want. And that you're making amends with your daughter also, that legacy of that. So I love it. When we are living our best life, it is an inspiration to others, and you inspire me. And I'm so grateful that you're here on the show. Thank you so much. I'll
Thank
get tips
you.
from you later how to improve my podcast, take it to the next level.
I got
Yeah.
you. I got you. You know that. You know that. It's an
Yeah.
honor, really, and thank you for introducing me and trusting your audience with me. So I really appreciate that.
Of course, they love you. Lisa's like, I'm following you already. Lisa's so awesome. You'll love her. All right. So I want to thank you all for tuning in. I'm so glad you got to meet MJ, the Black Wine Guy. Make sure to go to theblackwine.guy.com, learn about the Black Wine Guy experience, and maybe we could do a wine tasting event, a virtual event with
Let's
some of
do
my
it. Let's
with some
run
of my
through.
girlfriends. All my wine drinker friends are on here.
Yeah,
So we could do like a virtual event.
we could totally
I
do that.
went to an art show and they had a tequila tasting and they were doing like a whole mixology thing. I'm like, oh, that would be fun. We could do something like that. Right, Melissa? Okay, let's organize it. So thank you all for tuning in to the Align for Success podcast. This is Deborah Deras, your host. I really appreciate you sharing the show. I know that this is your opportunity to learn those tidbits on how you can incorporate those inner strategies to have success in your outer world. I want to thank once again my guest, MJ, the Black Wine Guy, and all of you. And remember, with the power of synergy, anything is possible. Ciao. Salud. If I had wine.
I know. Cheers.
Salud, salud.